Before we begin, viewer discretion is strongly advised. The following is for educational and entertainment purposes only. This is the verbatim federal courtroom testimony of the Sean Diddy Combs trial as reported by multiple credible sources. What happens when a music mogul's private messages become public? When the carefully crafted image of power crumbles with each word read aloud? That's exactly what happened 1 minute ago when Diddy's private text messages were revealed in court. And what they contained left everyone speechless. Nobody expected the prosecutor to pull out Diddy's phone records. The room was tense, eyes focused on the evidence table until the attorney stood, holding printed pages of text messages. Gasps echoed. Even the judge froze. No announcement, no pre-written statement, just Diddy slumping in his chair, his face draining of color, as words he never thought would see daylight were about to be read aloud. Until that moment, Diddy had maintained his composure throughout the trial. But something had changed. Maybe it was the realization that technology keeps receipts. Maybe it was seeing the dates and timestamps of messages he thought were long deleted. Maybe it was knowing that the carefully constructed walls around his empire were about to come crashing down. Whatever it was, Diddy was done pretending. He wasn't sitting there as a celebrity. He was there as a man whose secrets were being exposed one text at a time. And when the prosecutor began to read those messages, the courtroom wasn't prepared for what they would hear. Because what those texts revealed about the music industry, the manipulation of young artists, and the hidden networks of power and control wasn't just explosive, it was a warning. If you're finding this story compelling, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more breaking news and in-depth coverage of high-profile cases like this one. I'm standing in front of the federal courthouse where one of the most shocking moments in entertainment history has just unfolded. The air feels electric, charged with the kind of tension that only comes when truth crashes through deception. It started like any other day of the trial. The room buzzed with low conversations. The press hunched in their designated rows, and lawyers whispered strategies as they waited for the next witness to be called. But when the prosecutor announced they would be presenting evidence from Diddy's personal devices, the room changed. You could hear a pin drop. Some people thought it was a legal tactic. Others thought it was a bluff. But the way Diddy suddenly straightened in his chair, his eyes darting to his legal team, told everyone this was real. The judge raised an eyebrow, and Diddy, who'd been maintaining a calm facade throughout the proceedings, suddenly looked cornered. Diddy gripped the edge of the table, knuckles whitening. No eye contact with anyone. He didn't even glance at his attorneys. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to submit evidence item 47B, a collection of text messages retrieved from the defendant's personal devices. The prosecutor began. These messages reveal a pattern that contradicts Mr. Combs's previous testimony. The judge allowed it, and from that moment on, the entire trial shifted because what those messages contained wasn't part of any media narrative. It wasn't a social media leak. It was something that had been hidden for years. The prosecutor approached, the stand with a stack of papers. These messages span from 2016 to 2023, she explained, her voice cutting through the silence. They show a different side to Mr. Combs's business practices and personal relationships. Outside the courtroom, fans and curious onlookers gathered, unaware that inside, Diddy's empire was being dismantled text by text, word by word. As the prosecutor began reading the first message, dated January 14, 2018, the courtroom collectively held its breath. No one was prepared for what came next. To understand the weight of these messages, You have to understand Diddy's position in the music industry. For decades, Sean "Diddy" Combs wasn't just a rapper or producer. He was a kingmaker. Artists who earned his favor rose to stardom. Those who crossed him often faded into obscurity. His parties were legendary. His connections reached the highest levels of entertainment, politics, and business. His word could make or break careers. His influence shaped the sound of generations. But beneath the glittering success, rumors had always swirled. Whispers of control, of intimidation, of lines crossed. Few dared to speak these concerns aloud. Until now, they remained in the shadows, dismissed as jealousy or gossip. The first set of messages the prosecutor read dated back to 2016, exchanged between Diddy and an unnamed music executive. Need to handle the J situation before it gets out. Diddy had written, "She's talking too much. Remind her what happens to people who forget where their success came from." The executive's response, "Already on it. Pulled her tour funding. Told radio to pull back on plays. She'll get the message." Diddy, "Good. Make sure it looks natural. Don't need another situation like 2013. The courtroom murmured, "This wasn't just business talk. This was calculated career sabotage." The prosecutor continued, revealing a pattern of messages showing how Diddy and his network monitored artists, controlled their public appearances, and even dictated their personal relationships. Messages to security teams instructed them to record artists in private moments that could later be used as leverage. "Make sure you get everything on the boat tomorrow," one message read. "Especially after the drinks start. Flowing. Need insurance on all of them." Another exchange with a staff member showed Diddy's reaction when an artist attempted to leave his label. "Find something we can use. Everybody has dirt. If he wants to walk away, make sure he crawls back." As each message was read, Diddy's expression darkened. His attorney repeatedly objected, claiming the messages were taken out of context, but the judge overruled each objection. The timestamps, the consistent patterns, the multiple recipients, all painted a picture that couldn't be dismissed. Then came the messages about the parties, the infamous gatherings where careers were supposedly launched and deals were made. The texts revealed a different purpose. "Make sure everyone's phones are taken at the door," Diddy had written to his head of security. "Anyone who doesn't comply doesn't get in. And make sure the cameras in the East Wing are working this time. Last footage was useless." Another message. "The new girl, the one from the Atlanta audition, put her in the blue room tonight. Make sure her drink has the special ice." The courtroom fell into a horrified silence as the implications became clear. These weren't just industry parties. They were carefully orchestrated scenarios where young, aspiring artists were placed in vulnerable positions, recorded, and later controlled through fear and manipulation. But it was the next set of messages that truly shocked everyone present. "I've been in this industry for over 30 years, the prosecutor said, looking directly at the jury. "And in that time, I've seen how power operates behind closed doors. But these messages reveal a level of calculation that goes beyond aggressive business tactics." She held up the next set of printouts. These messages, exchanged between Mr. Combs and several associates between 2019 and 2021, outline a systematic approach to controlling artists through what they referred to as the program. Diddy shifted in his seat, his attorney leaning over to whisper urgently in his ear. But it was too late. The prosecutor read from the first message. "Got the footage from last night. Quality is perfect. She has no idea she was being recorded. This gives us complete leverage on the contract dispute." The response from an associate. "How much do we show her to make the point?" Diddy's reply. "Just enough to scare her. Don't reveal all our cards. Start with the bathroom footage. That alone should keep her in line for the next album cycle. But the prosecutor looked up. This isn't about music, ladies and gentlemen. This is about using private, potentially embarrassing moments to control people's careers and lives. She continued reading. A message from 2020. The new guy is becoming a problem. Thinks he can renegotiate after one hit. Need to invite him to the Miami house? Give him the full treatment. Make sure Marcus brings the usual setup. The response? Already arranged. Got 2 girls who know what to do. We'll have everything we need by morning. Diddy's reply? Perfect. Once we have that, he'll sign whatever we put in front of him. The prosecutor paused, letting the words sink in. Mr. Combs wasn't just building a music empire. According to these messages, he was creating an elaborate system of blackmail and coercion. She turned to the next page. But perhaps most disturbing are the messages regarding how to handle people who threatened to speak out. A message from 2021. She's talking to a reporter. Says she's going to tell everything about the parties and the contracts. Handle it. The response from a security team member. What level of handling are we talking about? Diddy's message sent chills through the courtroom. Whatever level makes the problem disappear. Permanently if necessary. Just make sure nothing leads back. To me, gasps echoed through the courtroom. This wasn't just about controlling careers anymore. This was something far more sinister. The prosecutor continued, revealing messages about surveillance set up in hotel rooms, in recording studios, even in the homes of artists signed to Diddy's label. The texts showed how information was gathered, cataloged, and used strategically to maintain control. One particularly disturbing exchange detailed how Diddy reacted when an artist tried to leave his circle. She thinks she can just walk away after everything I did for her? After everything I know? Remind her about London. Show her we still have those videos. See how quick she changes her mind. The response, already handled. Sent her a still frame from the hotel footage. She's reconsidering her position. Diddy's reply, good. They all think they can leave until we remind them what we have. No one leaves the family unless I say so. The prosecutor looked at the jury. These aren't the messages of a businessman. These are the messages of someone who views people as possessions, as commodities to be controlled and exploited. She turned to the final page of this section. And when threats didn't work, these messages show that Mr. Combs was willing to take even more drastic measures. A message from 2022. The problem with X isn't going away. He's talking to too many people. Says he has his own evidence he's going to release. The response from an unnamed number. Accidents happen every day. Car brakes fail. People overdose. Swimming pools can be dangerous at night. Diddy's reply was brief but damning. Make it look natural. Worth whatever it costs. The courtroom was completely silent. The implications of what was being read were too shocking to process immediately. The prosecutor let the silence hang for a moment before continuing. These aren't just text messages, ladies and gentlemen. If the prosecution's allegations are correct, these are admissions of orchestrating violence against those who threaten to expose the truth. The prosecutor took a sip of water before continuing to the next set of messages. What we see in these communications is not isolated incidents, but a clear pattern of behavior that spans years. She held up the next document. These messages detail what Mr. Combs referred to as the system, a network of industry professionals, security personnel, and even medical providers who helped maintain control over artists and associates. A message from 2019. Dr. R needs to increase her prescription. She's asking too many questions about the contract terms. Keep her foggy until the papers are signed. The response, already arranged. He's doubling the dose. She won't remember half the meeting. Diddy's reply, perfect. Make sure we get everything on paper before she clears up. The prosecutor looked at the jury. These messages suggest that Mr. Combs was using medication to manipulate artists during business negotiations. She continued reading. A message from 2020. The new girl is resistant to the usual approach. Keeps refusing drinks at meetings. The response? Switch tactics. Marcus suggested we use the emotional angle. Her mom's sick, needs expensive treatment. We offer to help if she's flexible about the contract terms and the extracurricular requirements. Diddy's chilling response, smart. Find their weakness and exploit it. Everyone has a price or a pressure point. Just find hers. The prosecutor paused. This demonstrates a calculated approach to finding vulnerabilities in young artists and using those vulnerabilities against them. The pattern continued throughout the messages. Artists who complained about their contracts suddenly found themselves facing fabricated scandals. Those who threatened to leave experienced mysterious technical difficulties at performances. Radio stations mysteriously dropped their songs from playlists. A particularly disturbing set of messages detailed the planning of what Diddy called leverage parties. Tomorrow night is about getting material on the new signees. Make sure securities collects all phones. The usual rooms are set up with cameras. Get them comfortable. Get them compromised. Get it all on video. The response, all set. Rooms 2, 3, and 4 are fully equipped. Audio and visual running through the secure server. Diddy's reply, perfect. By Monday morning, they'll all be very cooperative about the contract adjustments. The prosecutor looked up from the papers. Ladies and gentlemen, these messages suggest that Mr. Combs was hosting events specifically designed to capture compromising footage of new artists to use as leverage in business dealings. She turned to the next page. And when these tactics didn't work, the messages show a darker escalation. A message from 2021. Jay is still threatening to go public. Says she has her own recordings of conversations that prove everything. The response from security, how do you want us to handle it? Standard intimidation or higher level? Diddy's response made the courtroom collectively hold its breath. Find her family. Sometimes people need to be reminded that their actions affect more than just themselves. The prosecutor let that sink in before continuing. These aren't business strategies. This is systematic intimidation and coercion. The next series of messages revealed how Diddy's network extended into media companies, allowing him to plant stories about artists who stepped out of line or kill negative stories about himself. Need the story about my finances killed immediately. One message read, remind Jay at the network about the footage we have from the Hamptons party. He knows what happens if that gets out. The response, already handled. They're running a positive piece about your charity work instead. Diddy, good. And make sure W gets rewarded for his cooperation. The usual arrangement. The prosecutor looked at the jury. This network of influence extended beyond the music industry and into news organizations, effectively controlling the public narrative. As she continued reading, it became clear that Diddy's system of control was extensive and meticulous. Nothing was left to chance. Every threat was neutralized. Every loose end was tied up. And at the center of it all was Diddy himself, directing every move like a chess master, viewing people not as individuals, but as pieces to be manipulated and controlled. The prosecutor took a moment before introducing the next set of messages. What we've seen so far establishes a pattern of control and manipulation. But these next messages reveal what happened when that control was threatened. She held up a new document. In early 2023, according to these messages, Mr. Combs became increasingly concerned about several individuals who were considering speaking out about their experiences. A message from March 2023. We have a serious problem. C is talking to a journalist from the Times. Says she has evidence about the parties and the recordings. The response from Diddy's head of security: how solid is her evidence? Diddy: doesn't matter. Shut it down. Whatever it costs. Find the journalist, too. The prosecutor looked up. As more people began to consider coming forward, these messages show Mr. Combs becoming increasingly desperate. A message from April 2023. The situation is spreading. Now M and T are talking too, saying they'll corroborate C's story. Diddy's response was frantic. How is this happening? Who's connecting them? Find out who's behind this and shut it down. Now. Remind them what we have on all of them. The response: already sent warnings. M backed down immediately. T is being more difficult. Diddy: then make an example of T. Sometimes one person needs to fall so the others remember the consequences. The prosecutor paused. As you can see, the tactics were escalating as Mr. Combs felt his control slipping. She turned to the next page. By mid-2023, these messages showed genuine panic setting in. A message from June 2023. It's getting worse. The lawyers for CM and 3 others have connected. They're comparing notes. This could be a coordinated legal action. Diddy's response: find everything we have on all of them. Every video, every recording, every compromising moment. Prepare to release it all if they don't back down. The response: even if we do that, there are too many of them now. The story is too consistent. Diddy: then find their weaknesses, their families, their other secrets. No one is clean. Everyone has something to hide. Find it and use it. The prosecutor looked at the jury. As you can see, as the threat of exposure grew, the proposed tactics became increasingly extreme. The breaking point came in a series of messages from August 2023. Federal investigators have entered the picture. They're asking questions about the Miami property and the parties there. Diddy's response showed true panic. Delete everything. Wipe the servers. Get rid of any hardware at all properties. Pay whoever needs to be paid to make this go away. The response: it's too late for that. They already have some of the recordings. Someone on the inside must have talked. Diddy: find out who. When this is over, they won't just lose their career. They'll wish they'd never been born. The prosecutor paused. These aren't the messages of someone concerned about false allegations. These are the messages of someone desperately trying to cover up the truth. The final messages in this section, dated just weeks before Diddy's arrest, showed a man losing control of the empire he'd built. It's falling apart. 3 more have come forward. The feds have financial records going back 15 years. They know about the offshore accounts, the payoffs, everything. Diddy's final message sent shivers through the courtroom. If I go down, I'm not going alone. Activate the contingency plan. Release everything we have on everyone. Let them all burn with me. The prosecutor looked at the jury. These final messages reveal not just desperation, but a vindictiveness that shows the true character behind the carefully crafted public image. The prosecutor set down the previous documents and picked up a final set of papers. These last messages, recovered from a secondary phone discovered during the investigation, are perhaps the most revealing of all. She looked directly at Diddy, who sat motionless, his face now a mask of resignation. These messages, exchanged between Mr. Combs and several unnamed contacts, show the moment when he realized that his system of control was collapsing around him. A message from September 2023. They have everything. The recordings, the financial records, the witness statements. Multiple sources confirming the same pattern. Diddy's response. Who talked? Find out who broke the circle. I want names. The response. It wasn't just one person. The whole system is breaking down. Too many people know too much, Diddy. Then remind them what happens to people who cross me. Make examples. Loud ones. Like each prosecutor paused. Even facing federal investigation, Mr. Combs's instinct was to intimidate and threaten. She continued reading. A message from October 2023. Federal agents are preparing to move. They have enough for multiple charges across state lines. Diddy's response showed a shift in tactics. Start reaching out to everyone who might talk. Offer whatever they want. Money, career opportunities, anything to keep them quiet. The response, we're trying, but some of them aren't interested in deals anymore. They want justice. Diddy's reply was chilling. There's no such thing as justice. There's only power, and those too weak to seek it. Find their price. Everyone has one. The prosecutor looked up. This reveals a fundamental belief that everything and everyone can be bought, manipulated, or controlled. She turned to the final page. And finally, this message, sent just 48 hours before Mr. Combs's arrest, shows his last desperate attempts to maintain control. The message was to his most trusted security person. Prepare the exit strategy. Move the offshore funds to the secondary accounts. The plane needs to be ready. If this goes bad, I'm not staying to face it. The response. Everything's prepared, but you should know. If you run, it only makes you look guilty. Diddy's final text message, sent the night before his arrest, seemed to capture the essence of a man who had built an empire on fear and control. I built this world. I made these people. Without me, they would be nothing. They think they can turn on me? Let them try. In the end, they'll see who really holds the power. The prosecutor set down the papers and faced the jury directly. These messages tell the story of a man who viewed people as commodities, who used fear as a business tool, and who believed himself to be untouchable. She gestured toward Diddy. They reveal the true person behind the celebrity, behind the charming public persona. They show someone who built an empire not on talent or hard work, but on exploitation, intimidation, and fear. Diddy sat motionless, his eyes fixed on a distant point, as if seeing the ruins of the empire he had built through decades of manipulation and control. The prosecutor's final words echoed through the silent courtroom. These aren't just text messages. They're a confession written one text at a time, over years, revealing the true nature of the system Mr. Combs created and the lengths he would go to maintain it. When the prosecutor finished reading the final message, the courtroom remained in stunned silence. It wasn't just the content of the messages that shocked everyone present. It was the methodical, calculated nature of the system they revealed. For his final statement, the prosecutor addressed the jury directly. What we've heard today goes beyond the specific charges listed in the indictment, she began. These messages reveal something more fundamental, a belief system that viewed people as tools to be used, manipulated, and discarded. She walked slowly in front of the jury box. Mr. Combs didn't just break laws. He built an entire shadow system designed to control people through fear, through manipulation, and through exploitation. He called it business. He called it the industry. He called it looking out for his family. But all he built was a prison for everyone who entered his orbit. Diddy didn't respond. He sat there motionless. His lawyer whispered urgently in his ear, but he seemed beyond hearing. You've seen what he did to people who trusted him. You've seen what he did to young artists who simply wanted a chance at their dreams. You've seen what he was willing to do to anyone who threatened to expose the truth. Then the prosecutor held up one of the phones recovered during the investigation. This device contains not just words, but the evidence of a life built on controlling others. This is what power looks like when it operates without conscience, without boundaries, and without accountability. The prosecutor turned to the jury. If you think this is just about text messages or just about one man's actions, you're not seeing the complete picture. This is about a system designed to silence victims, to punish those who speak truth, and to protect those who abuse their power. And if we don't address it now, it will continue long after this trial ends. Then she faced Diddy one last time. You once told an artist, "In this business, loyalty is everything." Well, where was your loyalty to the people who trusted you? Where was your loyalty to the industry you claimed to love? She walked back to her table, gathered her notes, and delivered her final statement to the jury. The messages you heard today weren't just communications. They were a blueprint for abuse of power. They were the thoughts of a man who believed himself above the law, above accountability, and above basic human decency. Your verdict isn't just about one man's guilt. It's about whether we as a society will continue to allow power to shield people from the consequences of their actions. As she sat down, Diddy remained frozen, unblinking, his fingers tapping nervously on the table. Because, for the first time in decades, he wasn't the one controlling the narrative. Outside the courtroom, the impact was immediate and seismic. Industry executives called emergency meetings. Artists who had once proudly affiliated with Diddy's labels issued statements distancing themselves. Social media exploded with reactions, with many people coming forward with their own stories that echoed the patterns revealed in the messages. The music industry, already reeling from various allegations in recent years, faced a moment of reckoning. These weren't just accusations against one powerful man. The messages had implicated an entire network of executives, security personnel, lawyers, and others who had enabled and participated in the system. Several major labels announced internal investigations. Streaming platforms quietly began removing Diddy's curatorial playlists. Artists who had been silent for years suddenly found their voices, sharing experiences that confirmed the patterns shown in the messages. For many watching the trial unfold, the most disturbing realization wasn't just what Diddy had done, it was how long he had been able to do it, how many people had known, and how few had dared to speak out. The era of silence was finally ending. The question now was what would rise from its ashes. As the judge adjourned court for the day, one thing became clear. No matter the eventual verdict, the text messages read aloud today had forever changed how the public would view not just Diddy, but the entire system that had protected and enabled him for decades. The walls of power and privilege that had shielded the truth for so long were finally beginning to crumble. If you've made it this far, you're witnessing history in the making. This case will change the entertainment industry forever. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest developments in this groundbreaking trial. The truth is finally coming to light, and we'll be here to bring you every revelation as it happens.